Welcome to Jim's review of the 2015 NX200T, Lexus's latest edition, what's surely to be the most successful launch they've ever had in the history of this brand. With the introduction of the Lexus 200T, it's also bringing in the first turbo to the Lexus lineup. We've never seen a turbo. So Lexus is taking a departure from the tradition and moving into turbos now, which we're probably going to see moving throughout the lineup over the coming years. In true Lexus fashion, and this is what's most impressive, before even releasing the 200 NX to the public, Lexus actually test drove this car for over 1 million kilometers just to make sure they ironed out all the kinks and got the quality issues perfect. Now this dramatic new model, which comes with a 4-cylinder, 2-liter turbo all-wheel drive, produces 235 horsepower and 258 pounds of torque. Now, one of the unique things about the turbo system that Lexus has developed for the 200 NX is the fact that it's a patented twin scroll system. So Lexus didn't just borrow technology from another turbo company, they actually produced their own turbo, and it's a twin scroll system. The reason they wanted to do that was to address two main issues. Turbos tend to have a lot of lag when you accelerate, and they also tend to have poor fuel economy. Well, Lexus was able to address both of those issues in producing this model. It has a beautiful, bold, diamond-shaped body with accentuating curves, one of the design aspects of the vehicle in making it look more youthful and more fun. It also has the signature spindle grille that widens towards the lower bumper, giving it a wide and powerful stance. It has the beautiful, striking 3-headlamp design with signature L Finesse daytime running lights, combined with the signal lights. It has the world's first integrated LED lighting in the door handles with a hidden key barrel. In the event your battery fails, you still have the key there where it will allow you to get into the vehicle. And of course it has the rear gate with sculpted jewel-like rear LED lights. Just a gorgeous design on the rear lights here. Fuel capacity on the 200 NXT is 60 liters, a very generous fuel capacity in this class. This beautifully crafted interior has a very youthful look to it, and you'll notice that it has many new features that allow you to monitor a lot of the informations like your meter displays, your tachometer, speed, fuel, but it shows it to you on a nice 4.2-inch TFT screen. It's a thin film transistor screen in an LCD panel, and it keeps it right out in the middle of your cluster there, so very easy for the driver to see while they're driving. It also has a beautiful color heads-up display on a 6.2-inch TFT transistor, and that basically reflects off the windshield and brings it closer to the driver's eye level. It's noteworthy that it's actually color, which gives it a really nice display when the driver's looking right through his windshield. You can make adjustments to the lighting, you can even move the image up or down, and it has some excellent modes here to let you see things like your tachometer if you want, your audio controls. You can switch from miles per hour to kilometers per hour, which is also quite handy for the driver. No surprises here. Attention to detail is everywhere, and you can tell the direction that Lexus has been going is far more youthful. You can see it in all the design and the stitching in the dash, just a much more aggressive interior than what Lexus used to put together, and they've done a great job here once again. So starting from the side, again, this is the executive package, so it's going to have all the available features. It's got an auto high beam feature. It has the park assist for the front and back bumpers, and you'll get 4 sensors in each. You have the available blind spot monitors here. Great safety feature, and it'll track when somebody's driving in your blind spot. The power rear gate, which is a great feature we looked at already. It has the pre-collision system, which is located right here, where you can actually turn it off if you want. And it has the available center differential lock, which allows the vehicle in the 4x4 system to basically lock up into a 50-50 split. It can help you in a really tight situation if you're stuck. You have the heated steering wheel here, which basically heats up the left and right side of the steering wheel, and it works quite quickly. Our traditional power tilt and telescopic steering wheel, which is fully powered. Our auto headlights with a soft touch signal, which is a new feature that has basically been working its way through the Lexus lineup. So a soft touch of your signal here would allow it to blink a minimum of 3 times, and you can adjust that in your customizations and allow you to change lanes without having to turn the signal off. It just shuts off by itself. We have our audio controls here with our volume and our presets, and we can even select our different modes. Just underneath our audio controls here, we have our phone pickup button and our hang up button with our voice command button just underneath where we can actually give voice commands to the vehicle. And there's hundreds of voice commands, and of course you'll need to take some time and explore those and see which ones will be of important use to you. On the right side of the steering wheel, we have our controls here, which allow us to change what we see in our TFT display there in between the cluster. So we can see things like our compass, we can see our audio screen, we can see our cruise control on off, we can see important messages that come up, and we even have customization here. But more importantly, one of the ones you'll probably use is things like your average fuel consumption, or perhaps your fuel range, or your eco indicator, and we even have our tire pressure monitoring system, which can monitor each of the 4 tires individually. Just underneath that, we have our lane departure alert here. That'll tell us when we're drifting out of our lanes without using our signals and give us an alert. Radar cruise control, excellent feature here, especially when you do long distance traveling. You can set the desired speed, and it will basically try and get you as close to that speed as it can without breaking the distance barrier that you've set. And you have 3 settings for that. Just moving into the center, we'll notice all our climate controls are located at the top. Lexus tends to have a little bit of redundancy here. So you can go into the climate screen and see a lot of these features, but I tend not to use the climate screen very much. I would just use the auto feature and adjust my temperature here. Now, to the right of that, we'll see the fan where you can manually turn it up or down. If we start adjusting this stuff manually, the auto light will turn off. We also have our manual adjustments for the airflow just beside that. And then the dual feature is when we split our temperature. So if somebody's sitting on the passenger side and decides to adjust the temperature separate from what the driver has, you'll see the dual light will immediately come on its own. And now we've split the system into 2. So whatever temperature you have up front, it would basically mimic it just behind you for that passenger. Clock, they've gone with that traditional clock again, the analog clock. Very simple to adjust. There's 2 buttons, one on either side. If we push the button on the right side, you'll notice the clock will spin forward. The longer you hold it, the faster it'll spin. Okay, and if we just push the other button on the left side, it moves counterclockwise. It does the same type of thing. Underneath the climate buttons here, we have the first row, we have the second row, which turns on the front defroster. We have the rear defroster, which also does the side mirrors, and it does it all together. We have our adjustments here for fresh and recirculating air with the AC button next to that. The AC, it's noteworthy to note that you need to keep the AC running all year round. It's actually good for the vehicle. Just to the right of that, we have our airflow here where we can adjust or cancel it, and that's for basically gives you a little bit of extra airflow, okay, to the rear passenger, so you can turn that off if you want. Underneath that, we have our heated and cooled seats with 3 different adjustments for both front passengers, and our hazard lights located conveniently right in the center. Just below that, we have our audio controls down here, and again, these are the manual controls, but you can do a lot of these stuff. There's basically systems to control the volume, not just on the steering wheel, but down here in that traditional fashion, and where we can adjust the stations to the right here. Very much like what you're used to in all vehicles. Now, over here we have our drive mode select. So we can select from 3 different settings here. We can turn this to the right and engage what we call sport mode. The dash turns red and we have an indicator that tells us that we're now in sport mode. If we push it, just straight down in the center there, it goes back to normal mode. Okay, and then we can flip over to the eco mode to the left side here, and again, it gives us an indicator when we're in the eco mode. It'll tell us when we're in eco or sport, but not when you're in normal. It just won't display anything. And by being in eco mode, it actually does assist a little bit with fuel consumption by taking power away from critical areas like your heating or AC. And that's something you may want to play with to see if that's something you like. Just below that, we have our traction control off button. So again, if we're stuck somewhere and we want to get out of a sticky situation, you may want to engage the traction off to let the wheels spin more freely. Now the hold feature is a great new feature they've added to this vehicle. To engage it, you need to have your seatbelt on. And all it's going to do is assist you when you're stopped at a red light or stopped for extended periods of times without having to keep your foot on the brake pedal. Because once this hold feature is engaged, it'll basically hold the brake pedal for you until you move your foot over to the accelerator, and it will release the brakes and you can start to drive again. Excellent new feature. Also, a great new feature they've added to the NX is the automatic parking brake. No longer have to look for that parking brake to engage it. It'll engage itself, okay, because it has an auto mode here that'll allow it to, whenever you put it in park, it'll just automatically engage that parking brake for you. And when you move it back into the drive, it'll disengage it. So nothing you need to do there. They've made it very user-friendly. Now we're going to move down to the trackpad here. Excellent new feature. This is the newest generation in remote touch, and it's very much like some of our laptop computers, easy to use and scroll with. Once we get into our menu, we have things like our climate screen, our navigation screen, our info displayed here. It even has a pinch and zoom feature, much like we're all used to in our smartphones. Excellent job overall in here. All the features you would ever want in this class and more. Now, one of the ways you want to learn when you're using this backup camera, you can literally follow like a little path like this. I'm on a very narrow road here, and I'm just keeping the yellow box in line with the road. And as I take even a turn, you can manage to follow that pathway by keeping the yellow box on that narrow pathway, and the vehicle actually follows that path. Our back seat space is also very generous. You'll see that it's quite unaffected as you get into the back seat. Plenty of knee room in the back seat, which makes it very comfortable even for adults my size. So you'll notice in the trunk area here, you get close to 54.5 cubic feet of space, especially when you fold down the seats. Now this one happens to be our ultra premium or executive model as we call it, which gives us a lot of extra trunk space, and it even gives us the power folding rear seats. But this is an available option. But you'll notice the amount of trunk space, even though they were able to shorten the vehicle by 5 inches compared to our larger RX model, it still has a lot of cargo space in the back. In fact, we tested it out and you can get 4 sets of golf clubs in the back trunk area. So we're just about to get going here on our test drive, and we chose a nice challenging terrain because I really want to get a sense of how this performs as a 4x4. We're going to be driving through some tougher areas here and just get a real overall sense of the feel.
I'm going to get a real sense now of whether Lexus is going to be able to deliver on the no lag as promised from this first ever turbo. Immediately I notice as soon as I start to accelerate, there is no lag. So this is working really, really well for Lexus. I like this turbo. I really like the way this vehicle steers. It's got an excellent size steering wheel with a nice grip. When you're driving over some of these off-road conditions as I am here today, excellent response from the suspension, very controlled, especially in these off-road conditions, and good grip. So the all-wheel drive system is clearly is doing a good job in these types of conditions. I also notice here that the way the seat is hugging me, they've done an excellent job on the seat here. As you drive and you take these tight turns, or if you're going over some of these bumpier roads, the seat seems to hold you nice and tight, just the way it should. So this has been a real great opportunity for me to take this vehicle out, and we're very fortunate that we've had the conditions that we've had today to be able to test drive it in, because I really wanted to try it off-road today, not just on a smooth city street. So this has been an excellent opportunity for me to really get a feel for how this car will perform off-road. I can tell you that based on this test drive today and everything I've showed you, all these new features, this is going to be a sure winner for Lexus, guaranteed. And I recommend anyone who wants to look at a nice, smaller, more compact SUV to give the NX a try. You will not be disappointed. Great job, Lexus.